The Plainville Board of Education. Preparing students for success in a changing global society.
Paul Mary, please lead us.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We now have a special presentation by Dr. Brummett.
Good evening, everybody. I would like to first of all thank the board because this is Board Appreciation Month and you've seen the goodies in front of you. So please enjoy those. Those are a combination of gifts from all of our schools, and there'll be little notes and trinkets inside your bag. So we do appreciate this job that doesn't pay super well, but there are some perks along the way. But now I'd like to switch our focus tonight over to our March Everyday Hero. Our March Everyday Hero is Lynn Davis, and she was nominated by Michael Turcott Sr., who was supposed to join us tonight, but I know he's working, so perhaps he's tied up. But when I received this nomination, I was surprised by it. Not because Lynn Davis doesn't deserve the award of Everyday Hero, but because I have known Lynn for 20 plus years, and even I wasn't aware of some of her many activities throughout our community. Mike Turcott writes that Lynn is a ray of sunshine who always is looking to better the community. She puts in countless hours in the school system and community with always a strong commitment to the youth of Plainville. She is a mentor. She is co-chair of the Plainville Coalition for Positive Youth. She supports the Unified Sports Team, the United Way Scholastic Coordinator, Plainville Coats Youth Football member, past Vice President of the Connecticut School Public Relations Association, and former member of the Plainville Area Cable TV Advisory Council. I didn't know about a lot of those things. Lynn, we are so fortunate to have you in our community and our school district. You are someone I can go to for support on any number of district initiatives, such as strategic planning, survey administration, all things public relations, and most recently, all that you do in your new role as Director of Community Relations. Thank you for all you do. You are most deserving Everyday Hero for the month of March. Come on up, Lynn. He must be tied up somewhere, but this is your award. It's so different to be able to I know. This is like a role reversal for Lynn. She's usually taking pictures.
She know right where to stand.
She knows, yeah, she doesn't have to be prompted.
Slide over.
The logo. Thank you very much. Congratulations. Well deserved. And that concludes the special presentations for this evening.
You have to turn your mic on.
Oh. Motion to approve item A.
Second.
All in favor? Let me see. And a request approval of the minutes for the February 26th meeting. Do I have
Madam Chairman, I move that we accept the minutes of the February 26, 2019 special meeting of the Board of Education's Policy Subcommittee.
Second.
Are there any corrections or any concerns? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. We're now at citizens' comments. Do we have any comments from citizens? Please step up to the podium, state your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm Marilyn Speranza. and I live at 49 Park Street. Dear board members, I'm a Plainville resident as well as a music teacher in the Plainville schools, and I'd first like to thank you so much for everything you do for the children of Plainville. It's because of your work that our schools are given the resources needed to prosper, and I'm extremely grateful for your time and energy. I've never criticized the Board of Education in the past, but today I feel that I must make my thoughts and feelings heard. I felt disheartened and personally offended by the anti-Semitic tweet posted by Plainville Board of Education Vice Chair Nicole Palmieri. As a teacher, my work is not only to give students a music education, but to help students develop character. I give Linden students lessons in kindness, patience, flexibility, and acceptance. Our school-wide PBIS program helps students to learn how to show cooperation, positive attitude, respect, and empathy. I feel that the children of Plainville should look at elected officials and see the embodiment of these character traits. In addition to providing direct instruction in character, I program musical repertoire that teaches students to treat others with respect. The Linden Chorus's January 31st concert featured a round called Building Bridges, and the text reads, "Building bridges between our divisions, I reach out to you, will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we will make such sweet harmony." I feel that my work as an educator to foster a culture of acceptance is being undone. In addition, I grew up with a Jewish grandmother. I'm astonished that an elected official would not apologize for offending her fellow community members. Before this Twitter incident occurred, I programmed the piece Al Shlosha Divarim for the Linden Chorus's spring concert. I hope that our board members will come out to hear this beautiful Hebrew song at our concert on May 23rd. The translation of the song is, "The world is sustained by three things, by truth, by justice, and by peace." In closing, may we all remember to tweet others as we would like to be tweeted. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other citizens that would like to step up to the podium?
Hello. My name is Quentin Johansson. I live at 371 Woodford Avenue here in Plainville. And again, I do appreciate the hard work of Board of Educations everywhere to make our schools function and be the public face in many ways for our schools. But I likewise am deeply disturbed by the tweet, the anti-Semitic tweet, and the failure to take ownership of it and apologize for it. Unfortunately, the connection between Jews and money is a very deep and vicious one and goes all the way back. And it's just as we have been justifiably, I think, holding Representative Omar in Congress for her remarks, we need to hold our local officials also accountable for those kind of remarks. Please think about it hard. Those who don't find a problem with it are complicit in it, and that's taking a direction that I think Plainville is a better community for, to stand opposed to that. And I hope our schools, as the message about kindness and justice and respect, this is something that needs to be dealt with. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other?
Hello, my name is Shelley Johnson. I live at 69 Rockwell Avenue, and I too am here speaking about the tweet that came out. I am more appalled at the lack of response by the leadership of this Board of Education and not calling out and not responding to this tweet. Your own philosophy. Second paragraph, the Board of Education places a high premium on accountability, and yet we've seen none. Your policy on philosophy, 0521, the district shall promote non-discrimination. By remaining silent, I believe that you are actually promoting discrimination. And here I have the middle school handbook that all students are required. 11-year-olds are required to sign this. And in there is the Board of Ed policy about bullying and harassment, talking specifically about a physical act or a gesture, electronic communication based on any actual or perceived differentiating characteristic such as race, color, religion, ancestry, national origin, gender, sexual orientation, gender identity or expression, socioeconomic status, academic status, physical appearance, or mental, physical, developmental, or sensory disability. Today, just at dinner, my son was talking about a friend of his who was suspended for 2 days for repeating a derogatory statement. He had no idea what that meant. So the defense of "I don't know, I didn't realize," without an apology, really rings hollow. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anybody else that would like to step up to the podium?
Hi, Rebecca Martinez, 8 Irving Street. And this is just to reiterate what I have already written to the board. Our town's principals have no room for anti-Semitic insinuations or rhetoric. Our children deserve representation from a board of education members who are keenly attuned and sensitive to ethnic and religious slurs or insinuations of any type. I've tried to put myself in your position, and I've wondered, if you really didn't mean it, if it wasn't your intent, it still shows a lack of forethought and judgment before expressing yourself online. These are key things that we are all teaching our children to do better. This also sets a poor example for our students. And after being fired from your campaign manager and having the Jewish Federation Association of Connecticut speak out, as well as the ADL against your tweet, Ms. Palmineri continues to show no empathy or compassion for having offended a religious community. She still has not apologized and refuses to even take down her tweet. I just expected to see some more empathy and compassion. I did read all of your comments, and I see that you wrote things like, "I did not attend to," "I am saddened by," but they were all I statements. At no point did I see you take into consideration the feelings of the religious communities that came out, and they were completely non-political. So I really hope you take that into consideration and realize that you're representing the children of Plainville and the town of Plainville. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anybody else that would like to step up to the podium?
Good evening. My name is Gail Dennehy. I live at 28 Perrin Road. I'm also the Plainville Republican Town Chair. Nicole came to our last meeting, was very transparent about the incident that she was involved in, and was very descriptive. And I'm going to give you my point of view. I don't speak for the entire committee, but just my point of view. I feel that because she was very transparent, she described how she felt about things and what happened and what's said, that I think it was a very large misunderstanding. And I think that if somebody wants to talk with her and find out exactly what happened, it's probably the best thing to do, which is what we asked. And also, I just want to let everybody know that I'm Jewish. I've been Jewish, of course, all my life. And I, in no means, ever thought for one moment that she said something, in my opinion, that was anti-Semitic in any way. I don't believe in that. I don't think that she meant it in that response. And I also want to say that I'm very proud of the Republicans on the town committees, the Board of Education, and the town council. I think they've accomplished a lot over these last 8 years. They're very hardworking officials, all of them, who give their time and energy and have proven dedication, expertise, education, and experience. to get the task completed in a timely manner. They work very well together and in a group, and if they disagree with others, they will agree to disagree and not be disrespectful. They do their research first and then comment on challenges. They are proactive and not reactive. They are mature individuals who really care about the citizens, including our children in town. I look forward to many more accomplishments of the Town Council also and the Board of Education and the elected members in the months to come. Thank you very much for allowing me to say my comments.
Thank you. Do we have anybody else that would like to step up to the podium?
Becky Tyrell, 174 West Main Street, Plainville. I'm going to read a statement as a private citizen on behalf of 4 other citizens of Plainville, 3 other citizens of Plainville, I should say, can't count apparently. Crystal St. Lawrence, Kathy Wells, Foster White, and myself. While we are speaking on behalf as private citizens, we happen to be members of the Board of Education, so we have a little bit of a maybe different understanding or tact or feeling about this situation. So we know that as elected officials, it is incumbent upon us, each of us, to recognize that our words, our actions, and in particular our social media communications reflect upon much more than ourselves. As elected officials who serve as school board members, the potential negative impact is even greater, affecting the board and the district. Any offense is a potential offense to our students, our staff, and our community. The past several weeks have been a very difficult time for this Board of Education. We have been publicly asked what action we will take as a body to admonish a member of the board. And first, we need people to understand that the Board of Education has no jurisdiction over actions taken by an individual member of the board. While we are not able to clearly determine the intent of this communication, we are also unable to remain silent. We are concerned that our silence will be construed or as agreement or acceptance, and we want to ensure those that we represent that our focus is on what is best for the Plainville schools and the students as we move beyond this unfortunate incident. Thanks.
Thank you. Do we have any other comments?
Good evening. My name's Norm Pattis. I'm not a Plainville resident. I live in Bethany, but I'm here on behalf of Nicole Palmieri. I'm her lawyer. And I remind you that you're a Board of Education, and I urge you to seize this opportunity to educate people about the importance of freedom of speech and about the importance of leaping to conclusions. I've defended First Amendment cases up to the United States Supreme Court and throughout the United States, and would always stand beside the person who has uttered something unpopular, because the only mob that really terrifies me is a mob of self-righteous people who reach conclusions, jump to conclusions, and try and convict someone before they've heard from them. I saw Nicole Palmieri's tweet, excuse me. I didn't see the racism in it. Does that make me complicit? I guess it does, and proudly so. But in a culture that's steeped in identity, where everybody panders to an identity for political advantage, it's important not to leap to conclusions too quickly. So I would urge the board to put this incident behind them. Ms. Palmieri has legal remedies and options that we'll pursue otherwise and elsewhere, not against this board, but against people who have in fact defamed her by taking a facially neutral tweet and labeling her to the world as a racist. If you want to talk about accountability, talk about the cheap and too quick use of identity. There was nothing anti-Semitic about that. And to claim that it was, and to claim that you own the privilege to decide what is and is not offensive, is to claim a privilege the First Amendment doesn't accord anyone in a republic of equals.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mike Giuliano. I live at 26 Norton Place in Plainville. I'm not on the social media, so this is very new to me. First time I saw it, I did see the tweet. Actually, my wife saw it. She looked at it. She's from Central America. I looked at it. I didn't see racism. That was my opinion. And we talk about liberty and justice. We're so quick to condemn and not listen. You know, for once, maybe we should ask the person, you know, what did you mean by that? What, you know, this is how I interpret it, but what was your intent? What were you trying to say? You know, she's a practicing Christian. Her boss is Jesus Christ, who happens to be Jewish, our Lord and Savior. So maybe you should go to her and talk to her about it. The problem is today, and I've railed on this before, about people going ablaze on social media and making accusations. And we talk about teaching our students. What about compassion, about justice, about fairness, about integrity? What do we have to teach the kids if we're just going to condemn somebody before we even get to know their side? We should always do that. We should always weigh that. If we're going to be an equal society, we're going to have justice, would be fair, you have to listen to both sides. And it's quick. It's easy to quick to judge. Everyone's guilty of it. I'm guilty of it too. I made mistakes in my life. I've lived up and owned to them. But I told her myself that if I were in her place, accused of being racist, anti-Semitic, anti-this, anti-that, and I know in my heart that what I had said or done wasn't that, I would protect myself, not just because out of pride, because it's the truth. And I got to stand up for the truth. And I understand why she's fighting for her reputation and for truth. So I do admire her for that. And I thank everyone for coming out and saying what they had to say. I respect that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike. Anybody else?
Hello, everyone. I'm not a Plainville resident, but I am a teacher here in Plainville Schools. My name is Michael Bonsamino. I'm an elementary teacher in Linden, Tafalon, and Wheeler. And I just wanted to say that I love Plainville. I love working here so much. And of all the great things that our community has done in trailblazing, everything that we've done in the education field, our board was recognized for this, that it's unfortunate that the one thing that we're going to remember about the town of Plainville is the complicity of this, sorry. My family is Jewish, and someone had brought up before that there is a long line of comments and stereotypes that line has been said. And in our professional developments, we talk about culturally responsive learning and getting to know our students and getting to know each other and understand where we're coming from and what we say that might offend others, whether or not we understand or not. I think everyone in this room has said something that may have accidentally offended someone. We didn't realize it. But I think that's the moment where instead of being quiet about it, that's the moment where we take that time to learn from it and own up to it. Because if we don't, then we're just saying to our students, to our children, to each other that it's okay to say something wrong. And the more and more people who start saying more things like this, the effects are very lasting. So I just want to say that I appreciate everything that our board does. And it's just unfortunate that this is the thing that I have to remember this month. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have anybody else that would like to make a comment? Anybody else? Deb Hardy, 17 Maria Road. I just would like to say that I'm just shocked that this got as far as it did for somebody that was working in an outside project, that it became something that the Board of Education had to deal with. I don't believe that it has anything to do with any of the work that we do as Board of Education members. We are here for the children, for the teachers, and for the school system. So I'm sure that Nicole's statement was not intentionally meant for any of this to get out as it did, to be negative as it is. It just got thrown out of proportion as far as I'm concerned, and this has nothing whatsoever to do with the way that we are going to continue to teach the children, help provide what you need for the school systems. So I wish that everybody would understand this. Everybody has their own opinions to what they say and how they feel about things. Yes, there are always comments that go around and criticize people because they don't like what they hear, and that's everybody's privilege to do so. But to take this as far as it has gotten and to put it onto the school system and also onto the Board of Education, I don't think that this is the right thing to do because the two of them have nothing whatsoever to do with one another. Thank you. Are there any other comments?
My name is Cheryl Castonguay. I live at 41 Reliance Road in Plainville. After hearing everybody speak, I just had to say my piece. I fully believe that maybe Miss Palmieri did not realize the impact of what she said. But the impact of her not apologizing for it is just incomprehensible to me. She does represent the town. You all represent the town. And it is being made a big deal of because a lot of people are offended by it. I'm sorry, I'm just not prepared to stand up, but I just had to say something. I usually don't speak up. It's not right what she said. And it's not right that it's just being left alone. It just doesn't sit well. And a lot of people feel that way. Thank you for hearing me out.
Thank you. Do we have anybody else that would like to speak? Anybody else like to speak? We're going to close citizens' comments. Thank you. Moving on to, where are we? Council liaison, she's at a meeting working on the budget. And I have nothing to report. Next, we have the superintendent's report.
Thank you very much. I would first like to, it is my pleasure, to introduce our prestigious elementary team. As they make their way to the podium, I'll name them. I've got Phil Sanders, our science and math instructional leader. Alicia Adorato is our science and math resource teacher. And our three elementary principals, Andrew Batchelder, Paula Eshu, and Lynn Lagoik, as well as our coordinator of elementary curriculum, Tawana Graham-Douglas. They are here this evening to tell you about all the wonderful things going on at our elementary schools. So I will let them take it away.
All right, I'm going to go with less is more tonight. Thank you again for all of your service to our children of Plainville and helping us do the job that we need to do each day. So we're going to tell you about how our elementary schools are doing and what we're doing. We would just want to really talk about that we are making sure that we have the coherent line through all of our schools. Together we can. We're inspiring, prepare, engage, and we want to make sure that our three elementary schools have equal opportunities and experiences so that our children have that rich experience and those the wealth of opportunities as they move on to the middle school so that all three schools are the same. And again, anything that we do, we are making sure that the through line is there, so it has to deal with students, teaching and learning. And if it's not in our vision document, then we are not doing it because it does not then serve our district in the best possible manner. And then the last thing that we really wanted of the slides that I'm going to talk to you about, when Dr. Brummett came up with her theories of action, we had this goal here to improve student learning through responsive instruction by incorporating evidence and research-based instructional strategies, concepts, processes, and practices. And that had to do with guided reading, number talks, and our NGSS science productive talk, and then just all the practices in NGSS. Each school is committed to these three parts of the goal, and each of us are implementing them in the ways that makes the most sense for our children and our teachers and where we are in our professional learning as a school.
So I get to talk to you tonight about one of the most exciting changes this year in elementary education, and that's called the Next Generation Science Standards, NGSS. NGSS is a new way to teach science, and it comes to us this year. We started one unit and we tried it out. I'm going to show you this little video that's going to give you a little bit of an overview from the folks behind NGSS, and then I'm going to tell you a little bit about what it looks like here in Plainville.
When we learn things, it isn't for memorizing a piece of information. Just reciting science facts or principles is not what we want children to be able to do. We want them to be able to go out in the world and make sense of novel phenomena. So making sense of things really is engaging in a performance and saying, I need to construct an explanation of why or how this occurs. Okay, let's get started. Throughout this day, I want you to engage as the scientist, you as the student, you as the learner.
What's the science behind this? What's happening? As teachers start focusing on the next generation science standards, they will be able to help students see science as it really is, that it's not just a set of steps and procedures.
The real hope is that they can make a connection between what we do in the modeling of performances of science and what they do in their classroom.
So this year we have been shifting our teaching to support the standards. And the teaching that we've done this year is very different from what we've done in the past. The shift really is in the process of what we're doing, not necessarily always the content, but the process of how we do it. We're teaching kids to think like scientists. We're teaching them to wonder about the world around them. It's really exciting stuff. On this slide, you'll see that the NGSS has some instructional shifts. And one of the things that we've been talking about is phenomenon-based learning, those kind of wow factors that we teach children to wonder about the world. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a minute. Our teaching is based on inquiry. We have children asking questions, wondering why, trying to figure out. So all of it is involved with a lot of questioning. And what do we want but our children to wonder about the world and to question the world and to want to figure out answers to the world? We also give children some skills in order to do that, and one of the things that we teach them is how to develop models, how to create models, and how to construct explanations. And one of those ways that we work on their explanations is through talking. So we're teaching our children to engage in productive talk, accountable talk. So it's a specific way that scientists talk about what they're learning. And of course, all students will be assessed on these skills, and we'll be looking at how they're progressing on these science skills that are so important. The next slide talks about how we want to make science accessible to everyone. It shouldn't just be 10% or 20% of our kids that are interested in science. All of our children should be interested in science. And we know that not everybody's going to go into a science career, but we want our kids to understand that science is open to them if that's their choice. And we also want them to understand that it's really important to wonder about the world and try to make sense of the world around us. So here's the fun stuff. We start off with a phenomenon. And these are sort of some kid-friendly phenomenons that we want children to wonder about. We want them to wonder, why do leaves turn all those beautiful colors in the fall? We want them to wonder, what's going on with these bubbles? How does a bubble work? Why does a bubble stay together? We also want them to wonder why when you swing a bucket of water over your head, the water doesn't fall out if you're swinging it in a circle. That's pretty cool stuff that happens that we don't really always understand. The picture in the corner we had just last year here in on our Connecticut River. What happened there? Where did those big chunks of ice come from? Why don't we have them every year? The snowman represents sort of the question of why is some snow good for making snowmen, like the snow we just got, and other snow totally useless for making snowmen. And the last picture talks about what's going on in our classroom. Why is there corn growing in each of our classrooms? I mean, you're going to hear more about that now from Tawana.
Good evening. As Lynn said, you're going to hear about corn from me, but I have a question for you. How much does a pirate pay for corn? A buccaneer. Nice. Good job. Good job. As Lynn mentioned, we are focused on how to teach science in accordance with the vision of the NGSS authors. This school year, we have embarked on doing the NGSS Corn Unit. It has been implemented in all classrooms, pre-K through 5. The actual unit is an excellent model of the phenomena-based learning sequence. Students were tasked with trying to figure out why the corn was actually growing. And students daily recorded their findings and their observations, and they also used models as visual representation. The students conducted investigations or experiments to determine the importance of sunlight, water, and to also figure out where the plant growth was originating from. Students engaged in productive talk, which is student-led discussion, and with the teacher acting as facilitator. The goal, the ultimate goal of the corn unit was to make sure that students were able to develop important ideas related to plant growth. To help teachers identify when they and students were being successful, we developed success criteria. All of these criteria are related to the instructional shifts spawned by the NGSS science and engineering practices. You will note that teachers would know that they were successful when they have had opportunities to make sure that students can ask questions, when they can design and conduct investigations, when students were provided with opportunities to create and use models, also to construct explanations, and use evidence to support their explanations. Similarly, students would know that they were successful when they were actively asking questions, when they had opportunities to explain their thinking, and when they were able to create and use models to describe, predict, and/or explain. At this time, Phil Sanders will tell you a little bit more about phenomena and inquiry-based learning.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Phil Sanders. I'm the Math and Science Instruction Leader. So Tawana asked me to come up with a phenomenon to help everybody get a better understanding. We've done this phenomenon with teachers. Teachers took it to their classrooms. The kids loved it and actually expanded on it. If I could have a volunteer from the audience. Mr. Bonsamino, would you mind coming up? So we have a, that's called voluntold. Regular baggie, just regular H2O, nothing special about it. Mr. Bonsamino is going to take a pencil and he's going to put it through the bag, both sides. Perfect.
Whoa.
Try the other side, just to make sure. So this is an example of a phenomenon that I said we did with the teachers, we did with the kids, and it was amazing because, I'm going to pass this around. It won't be. Kevin's here, watch the computers. So we did this phenomenon, and it was amazing because we asked the kids, what did you notice, and what do you wonder about this experience? Kids came back with tens of different ideas about what they've done with this simple thing. So Tawana and Lynn were talking about how it's growing scientific understanding and inquiry, and we just got amazing, amazing results from this little experience, and it was So it's helping us to have the kids think about things, see things in real world context, and question what's going on in the world that we live in. Thank you very much. I'm going to go to the bathroom.
Good evening, everyone. So guided reading is a small group reading instruction that allows teachers to meet students where they are and accelerate students' reading levels with intent and precision. What this looks like, teachers strategically organize groups of students based on assessment data in accordance with a common need. Teachers will plan for teaching points based on students' needs and for each lesson point based on reading behaviors that need to be acquired at that reading level. Students will also read text slightly higher than their comfort level. Then the teacher will listen in to each student whisper read and coach students in the moment with new fluency and comprehension strategies. Teachers use the Fountas and Pinnell Literacy Continuum as a reference for reassessing and analyzing student reading behaviors and making adjustments to student groups in order to increase their reading skills and continually advance their reading levels. So here's a short video clip so you can better see what the whisper reading and coaching aspects look like. But you should know, leading up to this, the teacher had reviewed a previously taught strategy called STP, which is Stop, Think, and Paraphrase. And for this lesson, she had introduced a new strategy called BME. Kids are thinking about the beginning, middle, and end while they're reading and summarizing.
I'm Melissa Shatterado. I'm the math resource teacher. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about one of our other common initiatives, which is Number Talks. So on the screen, you can see some different variations. You can see some dot cards. So that's what our kindergarten and first grade students, those are called Subitizing Cards. That's the first thing that we would start off with, to create some visual recognition and to build their fluency and understanding of what number really represents. And then the other photos that you could see are representative of what happens in our 2nd through 5th grade classrooms. So they're really presented with a problem to try to solve, and they are trying to break those numbers down using flexible strategies. So our Number Talk goals are to build fluency and flexible thinking, to focus on that conceptual understanding, and to also solve problems accurately. Our students we really are encouraging them to explain their thinking and justify their reasoning. So it's very similar to what we're experiencing in our NGSS shifts as well. They're justifying their reasoning using evidence to explain their thinking. This helps them to develop a stronger mathematical identity and also build their confidence, to learn from their peers, and to clarify their thinking. Their discussions allow them to investigate and apply math relationships, so how things are connected among different problems, whether they're looking at that and breaking numbers down into tens and ones, or they're acknowledging that they can know a number because they know 7 and 2 is 9, so 7 and 3 must be 10. All of those relationships that they have along the way. This year we've incorporated Number Talks into all of our classrooms across all 3 of our elementary schools. Our focus has primarily been on addition to build that foundation. In the future, we'll move into some subtraction number talks, which some teachers have begun to dabble in already. We'll also look at division and multiplication and even fractions and decimals. And we anticipate that with those next steps and from this shift that we'll see an increase in our students' ability to really apply their conceptual understanding to use their accurate and efficient strategies.
Thank you.
So this is the work in which we all have been highly engaged in an effort to build coherence and increasing teaching capacity around teaching number talks, guided reading instruction, and the new science standards, NGSS. We do this collaborative work during our PLCs and weekly grade level meetings. These meetings afford teachers the opportunities to share ideas, analyze student work, and results on common assessments. This work ultimately leads to us fulfilling the theory of action led by Dr. Brummett and carried out by building administrators and teachers. Key teacher leaders who have been catalysts for the PLCs achieving stage 5 have been our instructional resource teachers, our math resource teacher, and that was Alicia who just presented, and our math instructional leader, that was Phil Sanders, who also presented. Each of them is assigned to a PLC and they are facilitators. They help PLCs arrive at collective commitments, establish agendas, and organize the bullets that you see on this slide so our PLC time is maximized to the fullest extent.
All right, now you get a chance to ask questions. We started off today by saying that we're encouraging children to wonder. So you get to ask any question you want, except I cannot answer the question about why the bag did not leak, because that would be breaking all the rules of NGSS, because you would have to figure that out yourselves. Any questions? Just the one you want to know, right? Exactly. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I want to thank our elementary team. The work that they are doing has already made a huge impact on our students, because you will hear that momentarily from Tawana Graham-Douglas. And I am very curious about the whole bag thing. I'm going to have to ask you guys that offline. Very curious. Tawana, would you mind, before you launch into your report card, could you illuminate what we could not hear in that very whisper-type reading activity on the video?
So it was an example of a teacher giving an introduction to the book that the student was about to read and introducing the strategy of how to use the beginning, middle, and end to summarize. So it was just a modeling for the student to prepare them. And that's usually what happens at the beginning of a guided reading lesson. Students are taught a specific strategy and expected to use that and practice it as they are reading.
Thank you very much. It's just real tricky to hear whisper reading on a video.
And just to double
by
check,
definition.
did I leave anything out of that, Andrew?
Just coaching the student in the moment on his applications of strategies.
Excellent. So it's a very effective strategy and one that we're working with our teachers to continuously improve. So just want to make sure everyone got the backstory of whisper reading in that particular guided reading lesson. So a few weeks ago, we received our annual report card from the state. This reflects how well our district is growing on a variety of indicators, such as academic achievement, attendance, our graduation rates, our students' preparedness for graduation, physical fitness, and others. I have asked our coordinator of elementary curriculum, Tawana Graham-Douglas, to share some very positive and exciting news about how our students are doing in Plainville Community Schools. Tawana.
I am so excited to be standing before you this evening to share some of the great news from the curriculum office. As Dr. Brummett mentioned, the Next Generation Accountability Report has been released. Our school district is more than the results on a state test. The 12 indicators, or the areas of this report, provide a more complete picture of the district and our schools within. It also allows us to demonstrate progress on precursors or indicators which lead to academic success, including other measures, wards against narrowing the curriculum by only focusing on areas such as language arts and mathematics. The indicators within the report recognize the importance of the whole student and the delivery of a well-rounded, high-quality education, which incorporates areas such as the arts and physical fitness. This report is not considered a gotcha. As a matter of fact, it is instead considered a tool to guide and track our improvement efforts. The methodologies used within this report happens to be different for each of the 12 indicators, and we will be more than happy to provide you with the specifics for how each was calculated. For our purposes this evening, I am going to ask that you read each of these amounts as a percentage. Also note that there is a high needs subgroup. These include individuals who belong to one or more of the following groups: English learners, students with disabilities, or students who are eligible for free or reduced lunch at the time of testing. So we will begin our celebration by saying we have improved in 8 of the 12 indicators. You will note that there is improvement in the ELA performance, math performance, ELA growth, math growth, the chronic absenteeism indicator, preparation for college and career coursework, preparation for performance on college and career exams, the percentage of students who are on track for graduation as indicated by their passing of classes in grade 9, and we've also increased in the area of physical fitness. Overall, we are up 5 points from where we were last year. And you will note from our previous presentations that absenteeism, high needs group performance, and growth were representative of areas that we have chosen to focus on the past 2.5, 3 years. The hard work and effort put forth by our district's principals, instructional leaders, teachers, and students should definitely be commended. When it comes to students participating in state testing, we can celebrate that we have 99% participation rate, which is very consistent with last year. Also note that our achievement gap between high needs and non-high needs students are lower than the state's, and it is also similar to our performance last year. I've mentioned some of these areas on previous slides, but there's something extremely special. Plainville has 2 schools of distinction, which means they rank in the top 10% of schools statewide in their respective areas. Linden Street School in the area of language arts performance for their high-need students, and Tafalon School in the area of math for the performance of all of their students. Moving forward, we will continue to work to reduce chronic absenteeism, to increase performance on the physical fitness exam, prepare students by continually improving instruction and incorporating interim assessments into the curriculum, continue to use data for decision-making and to guide our improvement efforts, and to strengthen the SOC, SST, or SAM process, which is used to determine targeted student interventions. Are there any questions?
On the arts access, we have a lower percentage from the prior year. We were at 64.8, now we're at 59.7. Is there a reason for that?
We did a little digging and found out that there were fewer students who registered for those courses last school year. And what we're planning on doing is talking to principals a little more closely about just exactly why that happens to be. So we're digging deeper into that, just trying to figure out why some students didn't register for those classes. It could, preliminary kind of investigation revealed that there were conflicts in class timings and things of that nature in their schedules, but we'll dig deeper.
This did include music as well as fine arts?
Yes.
Would that be because of a shortage in teachers or interest in the arts?
We think that it is connected to interest and possible scheduling conflicts. But again, we will dig deeper and definitely bring that information back to you in one of the next successive board meetings.
Thank you.
If I might add, Mr. White, we looked at it, as Ms. Graham-Douglas said, and one thing we think may be happening is really the kids, their schedules are chock full. So we're exploring whether we can offer what's called a 9th period, where an after-school gathering with proper credentials can be a course. We're not there yet, and the board will hear more about that as we move along, but that might be a way to finesse this because the kids are just so jam-packed with other requirements. Arts sometimes may take a back seat to that, and obviously we're very proud of our arts, so we don't want to see that happen. So thank you.
Yeah, because our music department, at least here, is nationally rated.
That's right, top notch.
Across the district, yes.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll go on to our board subcommittee reports, our student representatives report, Allie and Madeline.
Okay,
Good.
hello everybody. Allie had to run on to jazz band tonight, having a different rehearsal schedule this week, so you're gonna have to hear from me alone tonight. So some upcoming events. Tomorrow night from 6 to 8, we'll be hosting our college planning night in the auditorium. It's a really good experience for underclassmen and their parents to get acquainted with the college experience, which is quite stressful. They cover financial aid, how to handle the FAFSA, applying for your colleges with the Common App, so it's definitely a useful thing. And Friday, we will not be having any school. There's professional development, but our winter plays will be taking place, as you can tell by the stage they've set up here. We have a performance Friday night at 7:30 and 2 o'clock on Saturday afternoon. Next Wednesday is a half day for students, and parent-teacher conferences will take place that evening. Emails went home to parents with information regarding how to sign up for the times to meet with their teachers. And the following night, Thursday the 21st, is the 2019 Mr. PHS show at 7 p.m. in the auditorium. We encourage you all to come out. The proceeds benefit Project Graduation. I'll be hosting, so if you're interested in seeing me make a fool of myself, that might be something you want to check out. Wednesday, March 27th, is our in-school SAT day, and that night we'll host the townwide band concert in our Wood Gymnasium, which is a really exciting event. Again, we really like to show off our music department here, so I'm looking forward to getting to perform for everybody for one of the last times. That's at 7 o'clock. Thursday, March 28th, the class of 2021 is hosting a pasta dinner here in the cafeteria to raise funds for their class. Our world language students will also be inducted into their respective honor societies the same week. And on the last school day of the month, quarter 3 will be closing. Some extracurricular updates. Wednesday night is the Winter Athletes Awards night, so believe it or not, the end of the school year is approaching. Spring sports kick off next Monday, I believe. So we've officially reached home stretch. We're almost there. And as you may have heard, we've gained another state champion. Congratulations to our cheerleading team on their co-ed state championship title. Our hockey team is also moving on in the state championship after defeating the #1 ranked Watertown Friday night, and their next game is tomorrow at 7 at Yale. Both the basketball teams advanced to their state tournaments, made it to the first round, so congrats to both of them on an impressive season. And all of our spring sports have started their conditioning sessions after school, and official practices start next Monday.
Thank you. Any questions? No. Next, Facilities Subcommittee Report, Mrs. Terrell.
There was no meeting of the Facility Subcommittee this month.
And do we have one for the policy, Mrs. Terrell?
Policy met on February 26th, and we have several first readings to show for it that will follow. And we will vote, but then we'll vote to table them as well.
Thank you. Finance Subcommittee Report.
Nothing to report.
Okay. Advocacy report. Advocacy report. Sorry. Nothing.
Nothing.
Okay. Turf Committee report.
The Turf Committee has not met.
PAC liaison for Foster White for the Plainville High School.
The PAC met on March 5th. Actually, Mr. Johnson was at the start of the meeting, but he had to go to one of the first basketball games. But he did report back that over 50% of the students did select their course selections on the home use, going to Power School, which is, I think, a good thing. Also, the showcase, as well as also the introduction to the middle school, will take place at the same night, which is the Superintendent Showcase. That'll be April 29th. They also decided that this year's Super Senior Banquet, instead of giving the Super Seniors a plaque, they're all going to get pins, which I think is kind of a step forward, so this will be something that will stay with them as they go along. The Treasurer reported a balance of $2,799.77. Also, for graduation, there's another fundraiser. The PAC is going to be offering chances for folks to upgrade their VIP seats to premier seats, and also at the same time it's going to be a raffle and also be able to get premier parking as well as that. It's another way to raise funds so that they do estimate that they will have funds on hand for all of their scholarships and other activities. And in addition to that, being somewhat of a salesperson, this is now the time for butter braids, which has always been a favorite. Just at the start of the meeting, Madison Rund, also, who is also the president of the National Honor Society, has committed herself to joining me and buying at least one of the butter braids. So I'm going to really be good, and I'm going to pass this down and let everybody have an opportunity. Madison's mom is also on the PAC, and she put me up to this. I'll be very honest. But we'll pass this on down, and that pretty much concludes my report, unless anybody has any questions.
No questions? Next, we'll go on to Taflon Elementary School. Mrs. Gonsalvo.
Yes, last Friday, all students participated in a history assembly. It involved a lively and musical walk through American history, and this was funded by the Norton Trust Fund grant. And also last week, the fourth graders went to the Connecticut Science Museum, and the fifth graders will be spending Pi Day, which is March 14th, at the Science Museum as well. Also, Taflon kindergartners are looking forward to a visit to the Plainville Public Library tomorrow, March 12th. The kindergartners have been learning about spring and are sponsoring a school-wide pajama day to welcome the first full day of spring on March 21st. And our next PTO meeting will be this Thursday, March 14th.
Thank you.
That's all.
And Mrs. Wells, Linden Elementary.
Yes, fundraisers are going strong at the Linden Street School. The smoothie event at AM Fitness raised $150, and AM Fitness decided to double it and give Linden Street PTO $300. The bake sale at the Snowflake Sway made just under $200, and I hear Dr. Brummett has a close connection to Elsa. And so Elsa appeared at the Snowflake Sway along with Olaf and Lindy. The Kidathlon took place recently at Linden, which is an event that allows the students to run through the halls. Upcoming events are the teacher conferences, Easter Bunny breakfast on April 6th, and a game show night and book fair on April 26th.
All set. Mrs. St. Lawrence, the middle school.
The MSP PTC did not meet last month because of snow. We meet tomorrow night at 7 o'clock.
Thank you. And Ms. Palmieri, Wheeler.
Same for Wheeler. Their PTO meeting was canceled last month due to snow, and I believe we meet on Wednesday.
Thank you. And next we'll go on to the correct council report. Mrs. Terrell?
I did not attend the correct council in February, so I have no report.
Okay. Oh, and next it's the chairperson's report. I believe that's me. On March 3rd, the PHS co-ed cheerleading team won the state championship. Congratulations to all who had part in this accomplishment. Thank you and congratulations. Job well done. Also, there's been a lot of talk about regionalization of the schools, which is still ongoing. There are a lot of differences in opinions, but as we say, it's still ongoing. We'll see where it takes us. We have some updates for the Wheeler project. The project continues to go very well so far. The team that is consisting of all this hard work, the architects, the construction workers, Mr. Batchelder, Steve Bussell, Dr. Brummett, faculty, and students, and thank you to all of them who have been working so very hard to get it as far along as they have. Parking lot will be ripped up on the last day of school at Wheeler and will be ready for pickup and drop-off. Organizational lines by summer's end, and it will be ready before school starts in September. As of September 2019, the new K2 playscape, the 3 through 5 playscape, and the basketball court will all be completed. And by April 2020, grassy fields will again be growing. So we're on our way for this. And I think that's all I have for right now. Okay, next to unfinished business. Do we have any unfinished business? No? New business? Mr. LePage?
No, board open forum.
Oh, did I jumped ahead. Sorry. Board open forum. Board members?
Yes, I would just like to comment on last Saturday was the 5th annual CTEA Connecticut State VEC Championships at the middle school. That was an absolutely exciting event and the first stages of robotics. But it was really exciting to go into the middle school and see the band room turned into the pit area there were several different schools that were present at that. Going into the choral room, competition was being held and training was going on in there, and the big competition was going on in the gym. And there was an activity that I think is getting, just filling out on next generation science standards is always really good to see an event like that take place. And I think that Mr. Schwartz and others at the staff at the middle school did an amazing job to pull this event off with all the food and stuff being served down in the cafeteria downstairs at the middle school. So it was a great event.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah, I just wanted to express my gratefulness for the wonderful gifts. We get them every year, and it just really touches me. And I just want to thank everyone for this opportunity and privilege to serve a great district, to know such great people. And again, thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I'll also say thank you very much for all the wonderful gifts whenever I go home. After this meeting, it's almost like everybody's like, hey, what was it, Christmas? So we have to look through the bags, and I still see some little things around my house that were made by kids probably 18 years ago, just happened to gravitate towards me, and I hung on to them. It's always interesting. We appreciate your efforts, and it looks like we got lovely pens from the middle school. Thank you. Congratulations to Mrs. Davis. She always deserves any accolades we can give her. I also like to say thank you to the speakers who were here this evening to express their opinions. It's a wonderful democracy that we live in. Everybody's able to say their piece and come out and express themselves, and we hope that our students see that that's the purpose of our government. And lastly, I would just mention budget. It's budget season, and Town Council is currently working on the budget that the Board of Education passed along, and we're hoping that it comes through without any cuts. It is a very lean budget, and we will continue to make sure that folks will go out and support it when time comes. April 29th? April 29th is voting day. And as most of you know, the amount of folks that come out and vote on the budget is really small, so a few people, one way or another, can make a big difference. So we hope we can get folks out to vote for the budget.
If I could just interject, it's actually the 30th for the all-day budget vote, the Superintendent Showcase, another very important event. It's the 29th. And this Wednesday, the Town Council will be meeting with myself, Mr. LePage, and Mr. Ross relative to both the capital and the operating budget. So Any board members that would like to join us at 6:30 are welcome, but we'll be defending the budget, answering questions about it.
Thank you, that was it for me, too.
All set, everybody? Okay, next, Mr. LePage, I think you're up now.
All right, thank you. I appreciate all the members of the policy subcommittee who came out and met on February 26th to review several policies and also a few regulations related to the policies that don't require board approval, but they are provided to the board as well. There were, I believe, 9 in total. Just for the public's awareness, I receive regular updates from CABE, Connecticut Association of Boards of Education, about needed policy changes. Some are required, some are recommended, some are just ideas. But the required policy changes have to be addressed in order to be in compliance with state regulations and law. So as part of that, I develop policies in alignment with the requirements and present them to the subcommittee, and then it goes to 2 readings with the board. So I'll give you a quick overview of what was a much longer meeting. If you have any questions tonight or between now and the next reading, please let me know. I did notice there were a couple that weren't listed, but I'll go through all of them. Policy 5141.4, this is regarding mandated reporter policy, in which we must train every staff member in the district on mandated reporter to report abuse and neglect. This is a very important policy, and there were just minor wording changes or language changes in addition to adding the careers of guidance counselor and also licensed behavior analyst. Believe it or not, just those 2 positions were not listed in the list of staff who must be mandated reporters. We've always trained them anyway, so it's just a simple wording change. Some of them are small changes like that, others are more substantive. Policy 4111.3 provides a required update to our existing affirmative action policy 4020, last updated in 2003. This changes the language of the current policy and also requires a written minority recruitment plan that must be created. The minority recruitment plan is actually the regulation that goes along with this policy, which is also included. As we become increasingly diverse as a community, this policy is increasingly important and required by law to be addressed. So that was suggested or required that we change that. Policy 5113, attendance, excuses, dismissal, is required to be in alignment with the Connecticut State Department of Education's chronic absenteeism prevention. As you saw from the report that Ms. Graham-Douglas shared earlier, that's one of the 12 indicators that districts are rated based upon in our reduction in absenteeism, and this policy just brings us into alignment with the requirements of preventing chronic absenteeism. There was language that had to be changed and some slight revisions to that policy. Related to that, policy 5113.2, which is truancy, was required to be updated, also related to the chronic absenteeism and prevention, with, again, some minor changes, including putting in the state language for the plan that must address truancy. It wasn't developed at the time that they required the change. The cart was a little bit before the horse, so now that that plan is available, we had to include it in our policy. For policy 5144.1, which is physical restraint, seclusion, and that policy had been updated rather recently in 2017. However, there was an addition related to exclusionary timeouts and what that means and how it must be recorded and reported. So that language had to be added to that policy to bring it in accordance with state law. Policy 5141.2 is related to administration of medication. In particular, this change relates to transportation services, our bus company and student transportation that must have training required of their drivers. So for students who either self-carry or in the event that they're the only adult present and there's perhaps an allergic reaction, need to administer an EpiPen or something of that nature. So they must have training, and that's had to be addressed in policy. Same thing with the regulation that goes along with that. Policy 1331. This is if you watch the news at all, which I know we all do, this is a growing concern regarding vaping, use of vapor, tobacco products and other products that are inhaled through vapor. Our current policy was a bit outdated on what is allowed on school grounds, not allowed on school grounds. And this is certainly not allowed on school grounds, so any form of tobacco. So that language was changed to include vaping and e-cigarettes to be included in accordance with KE recommendations and with state law. And also that regulation was changed as well. And then finally, regarding our school visitors, as you all know and had approved or made aware of our Raptor system, where everyone must provide an identification that has to be screened through our Raptor system before they allowed entry into the building. And we have all protocols in place for that. So the policy 1250 was just updated, being recommended for update based on this new system and the process that we follow for visitors. So I think that covers all the policy recommendations. And again, there are regulations that go with some of those as well. If you need any more details, I'm happy to expand or expound upon it.
Are we missing one on here, on our list?
You are missing two from what I saw on the,
Vaping and,
yeah, 1331 and 1250. So somehow they didn't make it onto the board agenda, so should be addressed.
they're on the consent agenda? That should only be regulations. Yeah, it should be, yeah. I didn't. Anyway.
All the way down.
Madam Chair, as long as it's okay with everybody, perhaps we can make a motion to approve items D through H, at least approve the ones we have here.
May I get a motion to table items C through H?
Is it C?
C through H.
Okay, correct. So I would make a motion to approve C through H. You want to second me?
Do I have a second?
That,
And then make a motion to table items C through H.
I also second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
The motion carries.
I can table the next meeting.
And can we go on to our consent agenda? Unless there is the concern, may I get a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
Motion to approve the consent agenda?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. And time to
Motion
adjourn.
for adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.